Texas Senator Ted Cruz, thank you so much for joining us. Last night you called the speech boring but radical. And also I know that the camera caught you, looks like you fell asleep for a little bit there.
Well, I did. It was a long speech. It was over an hour. In fact, it was the longest first speech a president has given in modern times. And you know, I think those three words that you mentioned sum up not just the speech last night, but sum up the first 100 days of the Biden presidency, that it has been deliberately boring but radical, that I think Joe Biden has made a political decision not to make news, not to have wild tweets. I think he made probably a pretty smart political call, that people were a little bit tired of the president driving the news every minute of every day. But behind that boring facade, that serves a political function. We have seen the most radical policy agenda rolled out in the first 100 days of any president in the history of the country. And I think that the policy ideas, what has happened, unfortunately, is Joe Biden has handed control of the policy agenda over to the radical left in his party. The people running the agenda are Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC, and the result is tremendously harmful for Texas and for the country.
The president has either signed and or proposed $6 trillion in new spending since he entered office. Why do you believe that is the wrong prescription for the U.S.?
Well, the spending is massive. It is unprecedented. It is trillions after trillions. I've joked, please nobody tell the Democrat what number comes after a trillion, because, I mean, it is staggering. And all of this is to be paid for by massive new taxes. If you pay taxes, if you're working, your taxes are going up. Joe Biden wants to raise individual tax rates. He wants to raise corporate tax rates. He wants to raise small business tax rates. He wants to raise capital gains tax rates. He wants to raise the death tax. All of those are hammering Texans and hammering small businesses at a time where millions of small businesses across the country are just struggling to reopen their doors, to bring people back to work. We ought to be helping small businesses survive and thrive, not hammering them with new taxes, with new regulations. You look at Biden's proposals last night, it was tax after tax after tax. It was trillions of dollars of wasteful spending. And then when it comes to real crises, things like the chaos at the border, which, as you know, several weeks ago, I brought 19 senators down to the border to see firsthand the humanitarian crisis that Joe Biden's policies have created. He refuses to acknowledge that crisis. He refuses to do anything to stop the fact that we are projected to have 2 million people coming to this country illegally, that we have children in cages, Joe Biden cages, packed in there with 10% COVID positivity rates. It's a national security crisis, it's a public health crisis, and it is a humanitarian crisis, and all of it is man-made. Last night in the speech, he said not a word about any of that.
Regarding the border, Senator Cornyn and Senator Sinema are proposing a plan that would open or establish 4 processing centers. Where are you on that legislation?
Well, I think the solution that works is the solution that was working until Joe Biden ended it, and that is namely the Remain in Mexico agreement. So in 2019, Donald Trump negotiated an agreement with the government of Mexico that for people from Central America who had crossed illegally into Mexico, that the government of Mexico would allow them to remain in Mexico while their asylum cases were being processed. And Jack, that worked incredibly well. Last year, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. Remain in Mexico was an incredible success. When Joe Biden came into office, what did he do? The first week in office, he ripped to shreds that international agreement. He said, all right, everyone who's trying to come illegally, let's have them all come in. And that's what caused this crisis. We went from last year, the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years, to this year, the highest rate in 20 years, and that's because Joe Biden ended the Remain in Mexico policy.
So do you not support Senator Cornyn's bill?
That's his legislation. I think the better solution is to return to the Remain in Mexico policy that we know was working and had been working right until Joe Biden ended it.
Two brief political questions for you, and I appreciate your time very much this morning. In the 6th congressional district race, which, as you know, the election is on Saturday, you came out against Republican Jake Ellzey.
Yes.
Why is that, and will you be making an endorsement in this race as former President Trump has?
You know, in that race, I think the people of the 6th District want a strong conservative, want someone who will stand for them and fight for them. And I'll tell you, I don't know Jake personally, but I've seen his record. I've seen that he's gotten support from never-Trumpers like Bill Kristol. That's certainly worrisome. I've seen his comments suggesting an openness to amnesty. That's worrisome. And I've seen that he is passionately opposed to school choice. I got to say I disagree with him on that. I think school choice is the civil rights issue of the 21st century. And so what I encourage voters in the 6th District to do is not elect someone to Congress who you can't count on to be a principled conservative.
Will you be making an endorsement?
I don't intend to make an endorsement. I trust the voters in the 6th District to make the right decision.
And I also read a column that you wrote for the Wall Street Journal today saying that you're no longer going to accept corporate PACs. So that's from here on out for either if you're running for re-election or, as some people believe, you may run for president again in 2024.
Well, Jack, that's right. We have seen more and more the rise of the woke corporations, of corporate CEOs, behaving essentially as the political enforcers of the Democratic Party, engaging in woke politics, giving in to the outrage mob of the left. And I think it is highly damaging. It's damaging to their companies. It's damaging to their shareholders. It's damaging to their employees. And it's damaging to their customers. You know, as Michael Jordan famously said many years ago, Republicans buy sneakers too. And Republicans vote too. And right now, big business has decided that they want to crawl in bed with the radical left and the socialist and make common cause with them. And I've decided enough is enough. And so I announced today that I will no longer accept even 1 penny of contributions from any corporate PAC. That any corporate PAC that wants to make a contribution, they ain't giving it here, that my campaign is going to be funded by people, by individuals. And I got to tell you, over the 9 years I've served in the Senate, corporate PACs have given about $2.6 million, and I decided enough is enough. If they're going to behave like enemies to the American people, then I don't want their support, and they need to reconsider what their mission is, because they're going to find an awful lot of Americans are less than thrilled with their getting in bed with Bernie Sanders and AOC.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.